to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash,
Politics is show business for ugly people,
and Dale Hummel.
The two pillars of political correctness are willful ignorance and a steadfast refusal to face the truth.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
It is an active week for current events.
Dale, I think everything's active in your world.
I've never seen
You
anything
pay
like
too
this,
much
Ryan.
attention to the news. If you just didn't watch the news, you wouldn't worry about it.
I was told by a very
You
wise
made
man.
me watch the news, and now I'm very concerned. I found out things watching the news that you did not know.
Yes, and I was told by a very wise man last week, don't watch the news, don't bring that negativity into your life, just look for that ray of bright hope, and you will live a better life.
And look what you did to me. You made me watch the news, and now the world is coming to an end. Good job.
You said you had 0 for current events, and I told you I had a long list. I had to just throw mine out and
That's
start
why
over.
I watched the news. Because I was going to inform you that you were crazy, and then I watched the news for like 2 hours last night, and I'm never doing it again for the rest of my life.
Would you like me to start with the most crazy part right from the beginning?
Sure, go right ahead.
You're going to determine this is my craziness, not the news.
I'm listening.
I've come to the conclusion, and this part is not the crazy part, but the destruction of our country, the inflation, the southern border, everything that's going on. I don't need to go through the list, but all the crisis and disasters that we've noticed since Biden has taken over. There is no question in my mind that Oz, maybe Biden is unaware because he's so non-coherent, but Oz is doing this intentionally. If our society, our populace finally decides this is not working, that gives them an excuse to push to socialism. Okay, we can take care of you. Let the government give you everything you need. I believe this is happening, Ryan. I hope that I'm wrong, but I believe it is happening.
You think whoever is telling Biden what to do wants us to be a socialist country? That's what you're saying?
I think they're allowing inflation to go up. They're allowing a lot of these crises.
Dale, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. Now, I don't know what development you think.
Well, I cannot accept that it's being
I thought
done
we had been
intentionally.
past this like several months ago that we had figured this out.
We've brought it up, but there's no way it can't be. And the end goal is socialism, and that is terrible on every level.
I still don't know why you just now are coming back to this.
Okay, I have a solution.
There is no solution.
Yes. Oh, there is. I had a long discussion with one of my Canadian friends on this topic, and he initially started this by the fact that he did not think a democracy was maybe the best avenue. He's wanted to believe in it. He's bought into it in the past and thinks it was the best option out there, and that the United States was this shining light of democracy, and this is how everything works well. And it has for the most part, I think. But he's right. He has one point in there that is so true. Ryan, what do you think our biggest problem with democracy is, as we have it currently in the U.S.?
That uneducated people get to vote.
Exactly. The ignorant get the same vote as the intelligent.
I didn't say ignorant. I said uneducated.
I did. I don't think educated.
Send him hate mail.
I don't believe education gives you any level of intelligence, or I know. Okay, I used to tell people this in my.
I don't mean
personal
uneducated as in a college degree. I mean uneducated as in they did not read what the people running for or listen to what the people running for stand for, hope to implement, and want to change about this country. I don't think education, a diploma, makes anyone better. None of that bullshit. I'm talking about
no. It may even make you worse by today's standards.
I'm talking uneducated as they did not verse themselves in the candidates and what they stand for. That's what I mean by uneducated.
We could even go a step further. I used to think an IQ test at the poll. That's not going to work. I was wrong. Absolutely wrong. Okay, all I want for them to be allowed to vote is awareness. That they could maybe name the vice president.
That's just what I said.
Yes. What about, remember Water's World, when Jesse would go out and ask questions? I remember when Obama was in the White House.
He just did this weekend. Nobody knows who Camel Toe Harris is.
No. And he used to ask, well, where did you get, like the checks we're getting for child tax credit right now? Every month I get a check, Ryan. $300 and some dollars. It just shows up. And most people think, well, Biden has given me $300
Send that
and some
to
dollars.
the BTRJLA. Send that that
Well, what they don't realize, this is your money. This is a tax credit you're going to get anyway, but he sends it out so it feels like you're getting paid from the government when it's your money to begin with.
BTRJLA will gladly accept your $300 since you don't need it.
We just push it over to those. I'm good with that. Okay, so it used to be an IQ test. I've evolved into awareness, or what you talked about, educated, or educate themselves in the candidate. I'm good with that. I could even if they could prove that they've paid attention to any policy that would affect our country, any of those things, just any awareness whatsoever, because I think you'd have a large portion of them drop out very quickly. They could not do it, period. They couldn't. With that being said, there is possibly a fix for the system. I don't know that we could ever implement it. What about one-term limits, Ryan? Just one term. There's no reason once you get in office.
Nothing will get done because everybody's running for re-election.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Every time.
No, it's a one term. You don't have a re-election.
Huh?
They're only there one time. One term limit. That's it. No matter what the political office is, you get voted in. You're not
talking about
term.
1 year. You're talking about like if like president's 4 years, you only get to be one thing, etc. You only get to be a senator for 2 years.
Yeah, you cannot be reelected. You're done.
I don't think that makes any sense.
Well, I think it takes all the political bullshit out in terms of trying to get reelected.
Okay, but there was something that I watched. I can't even remember when, but it's recently. Like the 4 years that someone is president, it is really not enough to make change. Like I actually believe, and like I'm saying this we have the biggest moron in office in the history of the world, but I would be in favor of a 6-year presidential term because again, every 2 years, the Senate changes or the Congress changes or whatever, they fight that, then they have to run for re-election for 2 years. There is no time for them to actually make change. So if you're going to do this one-term limit thing, I agree with you. Okay, wait. No, I'm going to block you completely. This is really a dumb idea. Because think of how many other people will be forced to run for political office that don't need to.
There are plenty of people out there that are capable. We just never seem to find them. Okay, let's take this. I love your 6-year idea. How are you going to find them?
If you can't find them now, how are you going to find them when they have to be elected every 2 years?
Because I believe those Joe Bidens and the others that have been in office for 50 years, 30 years, however long it's been, they become so powerful. Miss Pelosi has become so powerful because she's been there for so long.
It's Mrs.
Whatever it is, they have a strong influence over who those people are going to be. And it's almost like bringing in more ignorance so they don't threaten their power.
I am for term limits. I am not for.
I'm one term, period. And I have a better idea yet. This goes along with your 6-year term. And you're onto something there, Ryan. You're right. That doesn't give them time to get a lot done. I could scrap our democracy because of the, should I use the word ignorance? Yeah. The ignorance in our voting population. I can scrap the democracy right now because of that. Now, in an ideal world where people are all aware that are voting, democracy's perfect, but that is not the real world. How about a dictatorship?
No.
Yes, if you have the right person.
That's the same thing as socialism.
No, if you have the right person.
Communist
Okay, what if you were the dictator? Would things get done well? You surrounded yourself with intelligent people. You could streamline all these decisions and things would be good. I'm not saying most dictatorships are horrible. Terrible. But if you had the right dictator in place, it would be amazing.
Dale has officially gone off the rails.
No, you argue this. Tell me how, if you were the dictator, how that would not work.
Yes, but how do you ensure that there is somebody at the helm that is all those things they need to be every time?
That is a problem.
Next!
But can you agree that if we have the right person there, it's perfect?
Yeah, but there's a bunch of people in Russia that think Putin's the right person, and I disagree for them.
I don't know if they do. I'm sure there are some. And
he keeps getting reelected.
No, I don't know if they're. I just don't even think there are.
They may have guns to their head at the polls when they go in there to vote, but they keep saying he gets reelected.
Okay, well, I'm going to go back to our democracy, which I am a fan of democracy. And my Canadian friend, I was very offended
He's a
initially.
fan of democracy, and
I
yet he
am
just
not
proposed a
with.
dictatorship.
I'm telling you, I was offended when he told me that he didn't think democracy can work. And he
You
cited
need meds, sir.
no, he cited the example that we're in right now, and it goes to the I'm going to change my ignorance to unaware, that the unaware populace is allowed to vote. So if we could just change this, and I don't think it can get done, but we need to try. We have to have some awareness, political awareness. How's that? And one more thing. Let's make it so you actually care about voting. You're willing to sacrifice a little bit to vote. How's that sound, Ryan?
Well, I think that people that right. I mean, okay. Let me phrase this correctly before you go off the rails even more. I think that if you are required to go to the polls, whether it's early voting or on election day, and present an ID, that shows a willingness to want to be part of the vote and the democratic system that we in. And so that's enough for me.
I agree that that takes like an hour. I don't know, maybe more if it's a long line. That's a start. I want one more thing, just one more thing. How about at the door when you go to enter the building? Just a little hotshot prod or something you have to take to prove. No, just that you're willing to take some pain because you're that vested in wanting to make a difference.
Please, viewers, I don't know what's wrong with him, listeners. I don't know what's wrong with him today.
Would you do that? Would you take a small electrical jolt to be able to vote?
It would be dependent. It would be depending on who I was going to vote for, but probably yes. But
yes. Now, would that not sort out those that really don't give a shit? They're not going to show up. I think that may, because you can't ask them the awareness question. This would just just like your hot wire outside. Just turn it way down and make them grab a hold of that sucker for 5 seconds. And if they can do it, they can vote. Done.
Oh,
that would fix the democracy. It would fix it. How could it not fix it?
1.7 million. That is the number of migrants that have been arrested by Border Patrol in 2021. Yes, we're moving on from your lunacy onto some real thing. 1.7 million. The highest number in 35 years.
I wasn't finished.
You're done.
and we're moving these around, it appears as though under the cover of darkness. We've known this. We just finally have some video of it.
Yes, they're flying them in the middle of the night, shipping them to different parts of thing, which I am not a big Ted Cruz fan. I'm going to be honest. I don't like Ted. But he came up with the bill, and it's not going to pass, but I think it shows the hypocrisy in all this. And so the bill that he put forth yesterday is that if they want to let, these millions of migrants come into the country, he's tired of them all coming in on the Texas border, which a large portion of them do. So we're flying these people to different ports of the world. He has designated 13 different places where they should be flown to, and it's all these ritzy, hoity-toity, very posh, upper-end places that and most of them are where a significant Democrat leader has a vacation home, and I don't think it's going to pass, but I think it's really funny.
It won't pass. There's several bills, I think, being tossed into there that I don't think any of them have a chance. But I agree with a lot of them.
I just thought it was funny, and it is getting more attention than what I thought it would. But that's a lot of people. A lot.
That is. Shall we go on to something else that's real?
What?
What do you think about our mask mandate for you, but not me?
I have a mask mandate, but you don't?
No, just your Lightfoot and Joe saying that we have to mask up, but they don't have to.
Oh, you're talking about the fact that Joe's been running around without a mask and your sister Lori was at a baseball game without a mask. Look, I think the mask mandate is one thing. And Jen Circleback Psaki got flustered and stormed out of the White House press briefing yesterday or Monday, I can't remember which day, without a mask on. That violated thing. Again, I don't give a shit if you wear a mask or not. All these people have been vaccinated. But
Agreed.
And so I mean, even if Lori Lightfoot might be different, I don't think Joe is intentionally not wearing a mask. I think Joe is doing a good job if he makes it to the bathroom on time. Okay?
I agree.
Okay. Jen Psaki, when she did it, she got pissed off because she can't defend her president's shit and walked up. So I get when people make mistakes. Now, Lori, I don't know. She was out there dancing and doing whatever at a baseball game.
The basketball, the WBA.
Or whatever.
I believe it was in Chicago.
Some kind of sporting event. I don't care.
Yeah, she's there surrounded by everybody in this crowd of people in the seats with everybody else's masked up, and she's not. And she's the one that released the picture, yet she's the one that's so Hitler-like on the mask mandate. She's about to allow the city of Chicago to burn to the ground. Are you aware of that?
And that is what I am more concerned about.
This is your gay and lesbian friend, Miss Lightfoot, that wants to burn the city to the ground.
We have gone over the fact again that I am the least gay activist person in the history of the world. Like the more I watch the news, I've decided that if I was not attracted to men, that I would not identify as gay. But here we are. So next.
Now, if they had like a gay and lesbian club in college, they wouldn't let you in, I don't think.
No, I would be, no. I am certain that if they gave out cards or any of these things, I would not do any of them, which is fine with me. I'm okay.
Do you feel discriminated against?
No, I do not. I do not feel discriminated against. I feel fine. But my problem is I think the vaccine mandate is what is actually going to come back and bite the Lori Lightfoots and the Joe Bidens in the ass. Because if you haven't noticed this week, there are lots of people. Even what I find interesting on this, in law enforcement, fire department, all these things, people are resigning over the vaccine mandate. What I find fascinating about it is the percentage of people that are resigning that are still vaccinated, and they're still resigning over it.
Out of principle.
Right, out of principle. And like, it's like sometimes 20%.
No, I'm with you. I get it. I get it.
I mean, that video footage of them marching up the steps to like turn in their boots and all this stuff, like, you're talking about Chicago burning to the ground. That's going to be one of the cities because they're not doing it. And Portland, Washington, I mean, like, this is real. I think this is going to come back to bite them in the ass hard. I'm just going to be honest.
I think so too. I mean, they can't keep crime in check now. It is an absolute train wreck. She's worried about a vaccine. She's worried about mask mandate. And right now, as we speak, Ryan, there's a gunshot going off in Chicago. Somebody's being shot. It is that frequent.
And killed.
It's not an exaggeration.
No, it's not.
So decrease the number of police out there because they won't get vaccinated.
Yeah, no,
do you remember when I talked about ignorance?
Yeah, no. I do not like the word ignorance, but I am going to say Lori Lightfoot is ignorant.
The people that
she is ignorant.
You're not going to call the voting population that put her in office ignorant.
I agree. That's a very negative term.
This term needs to be applied to that group.
I think there's no doubt she's ignorant, and I will say anybody that elected her is ignorant.
Good.
Said that.
We're on the same page.
But
you did. Hate mail is coming from Chicago.
That's fine.
If it doesn't burn to the ground first. The Chicago fire, I don't know how long ago that was, but I'm not saying it's going to burn to the ground, but if they reduce the police force, if she holds her ground, which she appears to, they're going to devastate every store. It's going to be like those riots that we saw, only times 10, because they can. I don't know how else to look at it. Something's got to give.
I think this is, of all the F-ups and the Biden administration and the Democrats have tried, I really do think the vaccine mandate is going to come back and bite them harder than almost anything. And that's saying a lot, but just watching it this week more than any other week, the retribution and the fallout from it's, and then of course, your mayor from New York, de Blasio, he just goes headfirst into more of it. Something, I don't even know, he raised the ante on something, and by November 1, if you don't have your first shot, you're out of a job.
All city employees, all governmental employees. Yeah, they're all piling on. You're seeing mandate after mandate. They just continue. I think I could be wrong, Ryan, but I maybe I dreamed this, but they gave a list of companies, and I believe Walmart was even one. And I'm a little bit disappointed there. You know, I've kind of stuck up for Walmart in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I just wish that Walmart would put in an observation deck with a bar. That's what Walmart needs.
We would be set. Absolutely set.
Literally, I would never have to go anywhere other than to Walmart. But
I agree completely.
another thing, and again, I'm not trying to scare you people or whatever, but like, there's a whole lot of very intelligent people that have been involved in the military and, foreign diplomacy for multiple years. And they all said that Joe Biden has been on the wrong side of every major foreign policy decision since he arrived in Washington.
A very long time ago.
Right. 50 years ago. Not 180 like Joe said himself a couple of times, but it's 50. But this week alone, Russia has not pulled out of NATO, but they have ceased all communications with NATO. They kicked NATO diplomats or whatever out of Moscow. North Korea has fired a missile, and we didn't even know this till this week, but guess what China did, Dale? Would you like to tell them?
They did a lot. I would be happy to. There is
no about the missile.
Yes,
about the missile.
The Biden administration's worried about the parents at the school board meetings being terrorist and the white supremacy and the critical race theory not maybe being accepted by everybody. And just as Ryan said, Russia, North Korea, and now let's talk about China. They now, it appears, and we are totally unaware of this until now, they have a missile that they could put a nuclear warhead on that we cannot stop. We may detect that it's coming, but we cannot stop it. What kind of positions that leave us in, Ryan?
Not good.
What does Circleback have to say when asked about this?
She welcomes stiff competition.
I think she just was delusional.
We are not building Tonka toys or a new iPhone here, lady. This is the arms race that you're talking about.
How much do you think Biden emphasis he's placed upon defending ourselves from something like that since he's been in office?
None. Zero. Zilch.
We're screwed.
Nada.
We are screwed. Okay,
well, the fact that that they launched this thing, the test, in August, and it is now the middle of October, and we're just now finding out about it because they're worried about domestic terrorists at a school board meeting.
And that one could have had a nuclear warhead. It can reach the continental U.S. We're done. It's that simple, and we're blind to it because of this ignorance in the administration. Ignorance, unaware. I don't think any of them in the White House would be allowed to vote if they followed my criteria.
I don't think they would either. And again, I do not like Miss Circleback Saki at all. But when she made the statement about this, her response about this hypersonic or whatever missile that China launched and whatever, and she said that they welcome stiff competition. I do not know how this lady has a job. Like, I do not.
I don't.
Other than the fact that there's probably nobody else sitting there going, "Ooh, pick me. I want to do what she does." Okay. But
look at the big picture here, Ryan. You already went through it. Russia is pushing the limits. North Korea is pushing the limits. China's pushing it. We forgot to mention one thing. China and Russia have teamed up to take their warships through the Strait of Japan.
Yes, that was the other thing I was going to bring up. They have violated that and done all that,
Okay, so in Taiwan
the last
is going to be.
thing we need is them being bros. I'm just saying.
There is no them being. They are, and guess what? When those two team up, do you think they need NATO or anybody else?
No, they don't need.
No,
anybody.
If those two are on the same team, the rest of the world.
This is like Adolf Hitler squared.
And it's not if, they already have. They have teamed up. They get it. They're smart enough to understand that. And if we don't get, I don't know even how aggressive we could get right now in building a defense mechanism and in a biowarfare mechanism defense standpoint. I don't know that we can withstand those two teaming up. And that is very frightening. We're doing nothing. We're allowing it all. They're doing it now because they can. We're not holding them accountable and at any level. Zero, none.
I'm not arguing.
Makes me very angry.
I'm with you.
Do you remember what I used to think about China?
Yeah, I'm well aware.
My children bought some type of candy over the weekend, but I read it, and it was from China. And do you know the lecture they received from that? I finally had to guilt them into asking them what kind of safety protocols are in place in China when they're urinating in the vat of sugar and corn syrup to make that candy. That took care of it.
Your children need a shrink that wants a challenge. That's all.
Now this was after Chase came in from mowing a very large lawn that you seem to be opposed to.
Yes, I do think that Dale Hummel violates child labor laws, but
there is nothing wrong with having a child mow the lawn or work.
This is not a lawn, sir. This is like a massive piece of land.
That is how it should be. They need to understand.
And again, I think you are sexist because you're making Chase do it because he's the male. I don't want Katie to have to do it either, though, but I'm just saying.
I originally did it to work on Chase's coordination skills on a zero-turn mower because he needs a little help there. And it's working. He's really good on it.
And now we get why Dale wants a dictatorship for the American public, people.
As long as it's the correct dictator, we're good. Okay, we've probably ran a little long.
Yeah.
You have, and I have a lot of current events in my head that I could continue.
I don't. I'm good for now. Thank you.
Well, let's progress on to the main topic. But before we do so, thank you to Boxel Manufacturing. Ryan, how have you liked their social media lately?
I am greatly impressed with their social media. I'm also like, dude, you're trying to like steal my stage. So I mean, I don't know. But
so you're conflicted there a little bit.
I am. I'm the most conflicted. Yeah.
I think you just team up and go. Kind of like Russia and China. You will dominate the social media world. Work together and go forward. My daughter Katie actually had a great marketing idea for Boxel that I shared with him here a couple days ago. Those most popular memes that he puts up. Mm-hmm. Why not make them a sticker and put one on each of those show boxes or blower or all the equipment that they send out to kind of individualize, personalize those show boxes?
I think it'd be great.
I think
I
it's
also
a great
think Katie
idea.
should get royalties for her idea. So then
she
can pay you to not have to violate child labor laws.
That would not.
She could sue you, actually, which would be better.
Now, I believe it was Chase several years ago. He did bring up, when he was maybe 8 or 9, he brought up these child labor laws to me once.
Look,
you want to know how well that went over?
I'm telling you, no one threatened to call Child Protective Services more than I did as a kid. I'm just letting you know.
Now, I can imagine you were so abused as a child.
I had that number on speed dial.
You may have been mentally pushed a little bit, but I don't believe ever physically abused.
Mental abuse is just as deadly as physical abuse, sir.
I'm going to stick up for Shuri here. I just have to.
Imagine you would. You always do.
I just have to. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Boxel, for sponsoring each and every episode. If you're out there in the stock show community listening to this podcast, looking for a blower, a show box, show equipment, please at least go to their website, give them a call, give them a chance. They're giving something to the stock show world by sponsoring this to allow us to continue to try to entertain and educate that community. Thank you, Boxel.
And then I also want to thank Beyond the Ring Junior Livestock Association sponsor, and it is Showcoat. And they have become a corporate sponsor for the Beyond the Ring Junior Livestock Association. We are very thankful for them for this generous sponsorship that they have given. Most of you know the Showcoat products, but they're widely successful, widely used by champions on all levels. But their shag strategy is no matter where you are in the country, no matter what species you have in the barn, the advanced shag strategy developed by Showcoat Solutions will change your hair growing routine overnight. They give you step-by-step instructions, partner-free product application videos, and game-changing customer service will have you wondering why you haven't tried the highest quality, all-natural products in the industry. Invest your time and your energy with their routine that will win and win big. So again, we love Showcoat Solutions for being this BTRJLA sponsor. We appreciate them greatly, and we look forward to this partnership.
Excellent, Ryan. You know we use very few supplements or products in our barn, but guess what?
You love Showcoat.
Showcoat is part of our routine, and we get a lot of compliments, and I get a lot of questions. How do you get that kind of leg hair? I'm not going to hide the fact that I believe it's genetic component primarily.
There's some of it that's genetic. I promise you. I'm telling you, I judged a little goat show this weekend, and they didn't have a tag or nothing. I didn't know. I was like, that's a Del Hummel goat because of the leg hair.
Is that the one you decided to put in the middle of the class then?
Yeah, I got third.
I'm sure it deserved third, and that's how it works.
I'm just
With
saying,
that
but I
said-
knew it was yours because of the leg hair.
The leg hair. Now we do use show coat. I do think there's a lot of genetic components to hair, but I can promise you that the conditioning and ability to train hair alone that we get from show coat, and hopefully some advantages in growing hair, it makes a difference. And I feel very strongly and have no problem giving that personal testimony, and I won't do that for many products.
And as I told them when we were negotiating the sponsorship, I said, I have never personally used show coat. Some of my families were using it, but I do not know one single person that has used it that was not impressed and does not continue to use it.
Excellent. Main topic time.
Mm-hmm.
County Fair Mentality, the sequel.
Da, 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 da.
That was a great title, Ryan, that you
Thank
did
you.
come up with, by the way.
Thank you. You came up with this topic, or I came up with the original topic. You came up with the sequel, but.
Well, I noticed, and it was a post on Facebook that stimulated me to rethink this. And I've had several families discuss this with me and ask questions about it. But one of the things we need to talk about in the County Fair Mentality sequel is the County Fair draw.
Yeah, see, I thought this was over. Like,
no,
I
it
know
still
this
exists.
was a thing, but I thought
does
this
not.
was over.
In your little bubble, it's over. In your county fair, how long does it last at your
more
county?
county fairs than anybody else in the world, and I just don't think this is. I think this is very small, but it is. It used to be a big deal. I mean,
but let's think about that family that even though there's only 20 of them in the country or whatever the number is. What about if you were in that county and had to deal with it?
I have dealt with it.
Give us your experience with it.
I
Man.
have dealt with it.
I would love to hear the story.
Yeah, you'll love this.
I blame you. You're part of the reason for it.
Oh, I'm sure. If the sun doesn't come up tomorrow, it'll be my fault. But next. So I think it was my junior and senior years in high school. Sophomore and junior years. I had to think back. Sophomore and junior years high school. We did not have a very huge county show at all in Houston County. If we had 12 to 15 steers, that was a good year. About 30 sheep, 30 goats. We used to have a pretty big hog show. I haven't been there in 5-10 years. I don't know what it was. The last time I was there, it was down to like 150 or so, where at one time when I was showing hogs, it was like probably 300 or so. But they got very tired of me winning the steer show. They decided, which
Can we have a timeout? Can we take one slide?
Uh-huh.
Why would you go in there with a deadly, over-the-top, powerful steer just to beat up on your county people?
Well, because we fed so many, I had leftovers.
Okay. Did you feel bad about going in there and just destroying the population?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
Okay, continue.
But we never put a steer on feed specifically for the county, but we fed so many, and our county fair is the end of March, 1st of April, and so all of our major shows are over. So literally, we would take one that we didn't take to a major show. But no, I did not feel bad about it. It's my county. I have a right to participate just like everybody else, and I have a right to win. So,
you don't have a
moving
right
on.
to win. You have a right to compete.
I have a right to win if I had the best steer and I worked the hardest, by God, and I did every damn year.
Every year you won it. Every single year you showed there.
Uh-huh.
Do you not think that discouraged some of the others?
Randy beat me maybe once, I think, once or twice.
I can't believe you allowed that.
Well, it wasn't mine. That's your buddy Cherie's thing. Anyway, can I tell my story?
Go
You're
ahead.
distracting me. So they were mad. So they decided that they were going to do a draw. And what they did is they got some local producers to put together a set of calves. And we went there. You had to sign up. I don't remember what the price was. I think it was $1,000 per steer. And you went there and you drew numbers for who got to select their calf first. You couldn't have any outside help, an adult help you pick, nothing. This was just the kid was going to go out there and select their animal. I drew second. The person in front of me did not pick the right one. I went out there, picked one, and I won. Well, they got mad again. So then they decided, okay, we're going to do this again, but we're going to fix it so he can't win. So we went back, and this time you drew for the number that you got to pick, but then you drew the ear tag number. You didn't get to select nothing. Guess what? I won again. That was the end of the draw.
Finished over like that. How could you get lucky enough just to draw an ear tag and still win?
Well, because they were all pretty much their purpose was dumb. They put together a very similar group of calves both years that were pretty much the same quality. There was not any of them that were, there were minor differences in quality, but not huge differences. So in the end, either year, whether you selected it or whether you didn't, or you drew an ear tag, whoever fed and took care of it the best and showed it the best was going to win. Now, how did they think this wasn't going to work out?
Okay, under that scenario, the fact that they went out and found animals of that similar of quality, I am more in favor of doing something like that than not.
I'm not in favor of all of it because it's bullshit.
The problem that I have is oftentimes when these things happen, and I've witnessed some of them, there would be such a variation in their genetics and body type that it didn't matter. If you got one of the lesser ones and you were the absolute best feeder manager, it still was not going to matter.
No, I can see that happening when you have large scale draws and multiple. But like I said,
or they're not putting enough effort into gathering.
Right.
Similar.
Right. But when you only have to find 12 steers, it's not that hard. You know what I'm saying? And we have no show cattle producers or stock show producers of any kind in this county. They use people from the county. So it was basically commercial steers. So, it was not anything, but I think it's all bullshit. And so if you have a county fair that does this, and I'm going to offend you, but I think it's bullshit, you're going to get me off on rail here. But anyway, part of the learning process, the family togetherness process, the meeting people, all these things that stock show does for you is going out, and part of it is finding that animal. Whether you're looking at sales online, driving to places in a truck, meeting people whether it's on the phone or in person, that you go visit their place and inspect those animals that you're thinking about buying, or it's on the phone on an online sale. All of that is an integral part of the process where you make connections, learn things, educate yourself, all this stuff, and that's just all gone.
No, and that is huge, Ryan. I could not agree with you more. That part's maybe as important as it is once you bring the animal home. It's all part of it.
I think it is a huge, huge thing that is getting neglected because they think they can make it all fair. This is just like slick shearing steers back when they did it. They thought everybody was going to be fair and little Johnny was going to pull one out of his pasture, Grandpa's pasture, and win. That did not happen.
No, they made it more difficult for those that aren't as experienced.
Exactly. And that is what happened in my county. And again, I won way, 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 way easier than normal. But I think, again, at a county fair, and God knows I have judged more county fairs than anybody this past year. Or if somebody's out there that judged more than me, kudos to you. But the problem in the whole county fair mentality type thing is, I think the more rules that are put in place at a county show are because it is the Ryan Rash rule or the XYZ rule that somebody won and they got mad about it, so we're going to put in a rule to try to prevent them from winning again. And
how does that work out?
That's bullshit.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Not only that, they're likely punishing somebody that they're not even targeting.
Well, and the whole thing is, when you put those rules in, yes, it affects that person that rule goes towards or is aimed at, but everybody else has to comply too. And there's a whole, just like we talked about, there's a whole segment of people that only show at the county fair that are not going to be able to adapt to those rules as easily as other people that have been in this longer, had more experience, all this other stuff. So while you think that you are accomplishing something for the greater good in your mind, by we're going to put this in here and that person is going to be harder for them to win, you're hurting everyone involved.
No question. I'm there. I want to circle back just a moment. You explained it so well, Ryan, that experience going out and searching for those calves, the interaction, the family time, everything that we talk about in this industry is included when we're out searching for that show animal. in building those selection skills and just being able to look at stock, I'm going to go a step further because this shocked me. A few days ago, we gave our youngest daughter, Katie, kind of the green light to do some heifer shopping, and she veers off into the steers a little bit, I believe, under Ryan's influence or guidance.
No. I told you a couple of months ago I had a steer for you, and you said no.
We are going to try to go the heifer route. That is our goal. Since we gave her a little bit of a green light, she has been on every online site studying these videos. And you know what? To be honest with you, she's made more progress, and she would call me in every 30 seconds from the other room. Hey, come look at this. And she would discuss the differences in terms of movement, their front end, everything. She has probably gained as much experience just looking at videos in the last 48 hours as she has the last year just being around things. It's if this was a draw, would that be happening, Ryan?
No. There's none of that.
Now, I want to state that I do have some positive on the draw. Some positive.
I don't.
You're not going to like this. I do.
I don't.
If
I don't believe
they could bring in near clones, and it was truly who fed.
Clones aren't even clones, sir. I can show you clones that don't look.
I get it. Let's rephrase. Bring in cattle, sheep, hogs, goats, animals that are very, very similar. That the management in specifically feeding and care is going to make the biggest difference in who wins. If that could be done, like you talked about in your county, there's only 12, and that is pretty much what did it. I'm okay with that because I am in favor of that. Just like showmanship, everybody has a pretty even playing field there. They don't have to go out and spend the most money on a calf or these things to win. In theory, if they put the time and effort in and drag to enough shows and get good enough at it, that works. So for that family that maybe cannot afford those higher end animals, I am okay with possibly having a draw if everything was done very, very well, which I don't know is even possible. But with that, let's have the draw show in a separate show that's just normal. So I'm in favor. If you have a draw, allow another show to come in. That's ridiculous to limit it to just the one. Can you accept that part?
Not really.
I didn't think so.
No.
I thought I'd try. So I see the advantages and I understand why they're doing it, but I don't think it can be implemented in a manner that it's going to serve the purpose they want. How's that?
No, and again, it doesn't matter if we're talking about draw or putting in rules and all this other stuff. Like, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse on my personal experience, but so the second year at this county fair draw thing, there were several of those calves that were gray and rat tails. I'd say almost half of them. Well, I got one. Okay.
A rat tail calf.
Yeah, I got one. And so, he had terrible hair that was, curly and all this stuff. But again, I was going to get way more out of that calf's hair than anybody else was because number one, I actually washed mine every day. But secondly, and again, there was no rule against this. This was perfectly legal. But we went out and we got a tail and put it on our calf for the show.
Ryan, that could not have been legal.
There was no rule against it.
I don't see anything. I personally don't see anything wrong with it. It isn't. I'm okay.
There was no rule against it.
Speaking of rules,
hence why they got rid of the draw, because they're like, okay, screw it. But my point is, the more rules that go in, I'm not saying what we did. There was absolutely not a rule against it whatsoever at all. And it did improve the look of that calf greatly. But there was no rule against it. No one else thought to do that. So again, when you put in rules, there are gray areas in every rule book made in America for a livestock show that there are either they're not rules that you can use things to get around, or there are gray areas where it's not legal, it's not illegal, etc. I'm not going to tell you that putting that tail on that calf, a lot of people got mad. But there was no rule against it, so therefore it was not illegal. That is the problem with adding more rules at any show, right there. Because there are people that are going to go through that rule book with a fine-tooth comb and figure out loopholes.
I'm with you. I'm probably not quite as extreme about no rules, but I am absolutely in favor of less rules, the better. And And if there's a rule in place, it has to be very clear, black and white. It can be enforced and will be enforced. So with that, I'm in favor of intelligent, responsible drug testing rules in the market shows, maybe even in the breeding shows. Probably should have it in both, but very clean, very clear.
We have them in both in Texas.
Yeah, we sometimes don't have that up here in the breeding side or the market side, to say the least. So with that in place, as long as that rule is logical and can and will be enforced, and it's easy, it's yes or no, can be enforced. An example, the last 2 years, and it was at Louisville last year as well. Last 2 years, we just got back from the American Royal. They have a no fake leg hair rule in the goat arena. And I tell people, I don't care if it's in or out, but if you have a rule like that in there and you don't enforce it, those that are playing by the rules are going to be at disadvantage to those that are building legs. And that's not an even playing field. So if the rule is in the book, let's enforce it. They had a person last year and they had a great young lady this year that stood there, and she understood what was going on. She seemed very intelligent and wise to this. She would stand at the gate to go into the holding pen, pull in several areas on that leg hair just to make sure it was real. And that's fine. I think that's enforceable. Again, I don't care which way it is, but if you do put it in, we have to enforce it. So I commend the American Royal. They actually enforced that rule, and I think it went fairly well. Everybody was on a more even playing field. So I'm good with it. I'm not zero rules, but they have to be able to be enforced, and there should be some logical sense behind it.
So what other, besides, I mean, we've talked about draw, and I think we use the draw as just like an example of things that, make the county fair mentality what it is. Are there other areas that
there are? We covered a lot of them last time, but I think one of the things that we have to maybe even we'll call circle back on, a lot of the justification that I get when I'm visiting with families from across the country when they're complaining about a certain rule, Ryan, at their county fair, they ask the superintendent or they ask the fair board, or the defense mechanism appears to be, well, that's how we've always done it. And that is terrible, Ryan. I'm all for history and tradition and things like that. I think those things are very valuable and I enjoy looking back on it. But we can't, if something is wrong from the beginning, we can't allow it to continue just because it's always been there.
No, and I think that is a huge thing at county fairs. And there's a little bit of that in all livestock show industry. But I think that because that's how it's always been, that's because how we've always done it, is way more full in force at the county fair level than any other. And everybody thinks I bash on Cherie. That's not it. But like
you do.
No, I don't. But
I stick up for her.
She has a very strong notion to not change anything. It doesn't matter what it is in life. She just does not like change. And I am somebody that loves change, like very open to it. I think evolution and change are inevitable to keep you current, thriving, growing, all of these things. But there is a whole segment of the population, regardless of age, that is very resistant to change. And I think you see that on the county fair level more than ever. And just like Del said, well, if it wasn't a good idea 40 years ago, it's damn sure not a good idea now.
Yet it's still in place.
Right, but it's still there. And this can be from, hip hiding steers to, I could list countless examples. And that is why, I do think, everybody says, well, how do we get things changed? How do we make this happen? How do we improve our county fair? All this stuff. And one thing that I have never said on here, and I don't know why, but I have mentioned this at lots of county fairs that I've judged because they all ask, what do you think that we should do better? And I'll tell them the things that I think they should do better. But I also say, and I mean this, whether it's the president or a few fair board members or the committee chairs or whoever, the superintendents, go to another show and just observe. And maybe it's the state fair. Maybe it's the most successful, biggest county fair or jackpot show in your state. But go watch and see how somebody else does that. Because I think that will open eyes more than anything else. If they just go see that there is another way that a show can be ran, it can be positive, efficient, all these things, but it's not the way that they've always done it.
That is the perfect example, Ryan. Perfect.
And people laugh at me at every single county fair I judge because I walk up, I introduce myself, make a little small talk, and I said, okay, tell me how your process works. And they laugh. And I said, no, don't laugh. Every single county fair is different. And I'm telling you, I don't know how many I judged in the past 2 years, but I have not been to one single county fair that has done it the same. Whether it is they pick a top 10 in showmanship, 1 in showmanship, we have a sale order after every division, we have a sale order at the overall, you give colors of ribbons who make the sale, don't make the sale. I mean, there's 1,000,001 possibilities for them to be different, and none of them are the same. And they all make it through, but I think if you would just go and watch something else happen, I think it would be a very eye-opening experience.
I think that is maybe the biggest fault that we see in terms of issues at the county fair is a lot of those that are in charge, and I'm going to try not to offend anybody, and that's not the purpose, at least this time. They have been in that county fair circle, their own county fair, and doing what they believe to be right off of what they've seen there at their show and tradition and all those things. But just as Ryan mentioned, if they get out and see some others, they're going to bring great ideas back. I'm going to claim guilty on myself in the mistakes that I've made. Our children currently are not participating at our county fair for multiple reasons. One of them is that they get to show at state fair and jackpots and national shows. They still want to go compete at the county fair because they enjoy being around their friends from school and things like that. But we've chosen not to, just for various reasons. I attempted, my wife more so than I, several years ago to become more involved in our county fair as superintendent in the goat building, or possibly trying to give guidance to the junior committees. And it was met with very strong resistance. And once that happened, guess what I did, Ryan?
You didn't offer to help anymore.
I just walked away from it. And I probably should not have. But I'm afraid a lot of people, and this doesn't speak for all counties by any means, and not even necessarily our county at this point, but a lot of people that are involved in that are in a situation where I appreciate them giving their time. Everybody has busy lives, and it's a commitment to do so. But sometimes it becomes those that are involved and they stay in that position for a very long time. The things that Ryan's talking about, the change, it just doesn't happen. And that's unfortunate, but I am guilty. And I think the biggest way to change this, my recommendation, which I have not followed myself, is get involved as superintendent, try to get on your county fair board, try to start that change. And again, that is, in my opinion, I don't know how else to change it. Do you, Ryan?
No, I mean, again, there is nothing against experience and wisdom in, oh God, I don't want this to come out wrong, but anyway, I think every show, for it to be successful, you have to have a balance of people. And there are people that have years and years of experience and wisdom that need to be on there. You also have to have a group of people that are currently in the trenches, doing it, going, active, that see things that happen each and every weekend. I think that, and like some people are going to say that I'm real off base there. I think you need some outside influences that maybe they are not quote unquote diehard livestock people, but they're not complete novices to it, but they are successful in other industries or whatever. I think that's when shows are really, really successful, is when there is a proper balance of advice and leadership and information and feedback from all various groups. Because when it becomes too heavy in one area, you alienate far more people. And the shows that really work, that are great and everybody has a good time and they're wildly successful, no one is alienated.
Agreed. Completely. I'm there. This is good. And I hope that our listeners out there don't take this the wrong way. And And we're not saying that all county fairs are run incorrectly or anything like that, but we can all do better. Ryan and I are probably the biggest examples in the world that both of us can do better. And I am not afraid to admit that.
I think I'm very damn good at what I do for myself.
No, I think you can do better. I think you can do better by not picking on your mother as much as you do.
Anyhow, moving on. One thing, and I don't know if Dale has more, but before I forget it, and I brought this up, how every county fair is different and all this other stuff, and touching on what Dale says, how all we don't think all county fairs are run poorly or anything like that. I don't think that's the case. I have found at almost every single county fair that I judge, I find something that is used or utilized at that county fair. They're like, you know what? More shows could benefit from doing that. And so that's how I know that there's good in all county fairs. There's also some negative. That's everywhere. But that's why I do think that the more people that get involved, stay involved, all this stuff, go out, watch other shows, utilize what is unique and good about your county fair, take parts and pieces from other ones, inject them in there to make it as strong as it possibly can be for everyone involved. And again, that's change and that's evolution, and a lot of people don't like it, but that's what's got to happen. And if it doesn't, then you're never going to grow, and it's never going to get better. And I don't think anybody wants that.
Amen. I'm right there with you. I could add one more thing before we go to question and answer.
Mm-hmm.
How about we take our criteria to be able to vote in the U.S., take it to your county fair superintendent and county fair board members, that each year, in order to serve in that position, they have to do the same thing. Have a little bit of vested interest that they grab that hot wire for 5 seconds. And if they're willing to do it, you know they really want to be involved.
Oh my God.
You're in. You can't deny that would not help. How would that not help?
I don't even know what to say to you, sir.
Are you ready for question and answer? You love question and answer.
I am sitting here like, did you take a new medication this morning, or like what is it that got you?
I got more sleep last night than normal. I did have a little bit of caffeine this morning.
Oh, okay.
I'm bouncing back from having some congestion in the Kansas City crud, but nothing unusual.
Okay, well, before we go to that, I do want to say one other thing about BTRJLA. We got all of Region 5 sponsored. All 4 species are sponsored. So therefore, they have a full-scale awards program for all the species in Region 5. And I know that everybody doesn't know exactly what that means, but we're fixing to have a podcast come out about all things BTRJLA. It's going to be in addition to our regular weekly podcast. It's not taking place of that one. So be on the lookout for that. But what that means, that Region 5 has all 4 species sanctioned, is the kids in Region 5 that are BTRJLA members are going to have a full-scale awards program regardless of membership. That means 160 kids in Region 5 are going to walk away with a regional award next year. And the winners in the champions in all 4 species, in all 4 age divisions, are going to get a belt buckle. The top 10 in all 4 species and all 4 age divisions are going to get a banner. We might even incorporate another award too. But that is a huge thing, that 160 kids in Region 5 alone are going to take home an award next year.
That is awesome.
And so we've highlighted some of the Region 5 sponsors already. We have 2 new ones, and I just want to give a shout out to Izzy P at Home for being the sheep sponsor for Region 5. They're a home decor shop in the heart of downtown Canton, Ohio. They specialize in modern farmhouse and boho decor. They have a candle line. They have a pet line that I bought Callie's dogs some things off it already because I'm not home enough to have a dog, so Kelly has 2. So those little pooches are getting something really cute coming up. It's a family-owned and operated shop. It's named for their youngest daughter. Isabella Palmer, and their oldest daughter, Tatiana, is the designer, and their middle daughter, Dharma, does the social media and marketing. So, Izzy P, thank you very much for being the Region 5 sheep sponsor.
Excellent. Excellent. I want to address one thing, and we are going to do an additional episode, as Ryan stated, a bonus episode about the association, specifically to try to get one out there that you can refer to answer any of your questions. One question that I'm getting very common, Ryan, that I want to address just real quickly, we won't spend any more time on it. When a show or a show series signs up to be a part of this organization, it is not in competition with that state show series. It's nothing that we are going to change. I think there's some confusion that you have to either be in one association or another. That is not how Ryan initially put this together. It's just an addition. So if you're in the Illinois Club Lamb Association, you still get all of those awards. You can be in that state points association. And then if you're also in the Beyond the Ring Association, you're going to get all these extra awards, hopefully, from Beyond the Ring. It's trying to get kids more recognition. It's not an either or. You can add this association onto anything out there without changing anything you do in the show whatsoever. So don't think you can only be in one or the other. You just brought on the Indiana Cattle Association, Junior Cattle Association, Ryan, all those shows?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I talked to them Sunday via Zoom, and they had a meeting, and so I know they had well over 20 shows last year in their association, and all 20 of those cattle shows for the Indiana Junior Beef Cattlemen's Association will be sanctioned with BTRJLA. And again, this is an inclusive, not exclusive. And so
they didn't have to change anything they did.
No,
nothing on their end changed.
Not.
Zero.
Nobody
it didn't cost them anything. Nothing.
No. And so, again, and I mean, we'll talk more about this on the podcast, but we are inclusive. We are not exclusive. We are not competing with anyone else because there is no other national all species association. So there is nobody that we are competing against. We are not competing against show series in the different states or associations like the one that we just talked about in Indiana or my mother's Texas Junior Livestock Association. We're not competing against you. We want to give the livestock kids throughout the United States an opportunity to be recognized in more ways, additional ways, another venue, another avenue, and that's it. Again, we'll talk about it more, but we're really excited about what's going to take off on January 1st.
Time for question and answer. The first question's a little bit long, Ryan. Just a little long. And this one's all you.
Imagine that.
This one wanted to remain anonymous.
Oh, great.
Oh, it's not that bad. This is good. It gets better as we go on in terms of more controversial anyway. Okay, we have shown dairy for several generations. My daughter started at 2 years of age. She is now in 4th grade, so this was her first year in actual 4-H. We had a crossbred steer that she took as a market steer. She worked really hard feeding and training him and used him for showmanship. I agree with Ryan 100% that every kid has the chance to win showmanship if they work hard enough. Now, I happen to agree with that, Ryan. I did not get mentioned. I didn't get mentioned there. It was Ryan. That's why this is your question.
It's because you're mean to small children in showmanship.
No. That being said, I did warn her that she would not win. First, as she has a slick shorn steer. She still did her best. The judge actually asked the show committee if he could split first for the top 2 kids. She was one of them. Unfortunately, she got second. She was a great sport, but immediately said that next year she wants a fluffy one. Our county is extremely competitive in the beef arena. We could never afford the quality of beef for her to place in the breed class. Is it worth buying the best we can get, but ultimately a mediocre heifer for her to be basically able to compete in the showmanship class?
That's a lot.
That's a lot. It took me a long time I've read that several times and I'm just now absorbing it.
Okay, so first, let me address the fact that I don't know what she means by slick, but I do not think the amount of hair on an animal, regardless of species, should determine who the best showman is. So, if that's how, this person thought that the child was beat going in because their animal was slick, if they knew that because of who the judge was or whatever, then you probably need to get a different judge because that that should not come into play at all. That's the beauty of showmanship, is that it's not about hair or the quality of the animal or anything else. It's just about how well you can show your individual animal and accentuate the positives and disguise the negatives. And so, don't know what that's all about. Second part of the question is it worth it to buy an animal with great hair so you'll be more competitive in showmanship? I can't say yes to that, because, again, that goes against the principles of showmanship. I think that regardless of species, you should spend the amount of money that you're comfortable with to buy the best animal, period. And yes, I do think that is worthy and a worthwhile venture. Yes, I do. But I don't think you should do it because of showmanship, because, again, that defeats the whole purpose of showmanship. And that's probably not the best answer, but that's all I can come up with.
No, I like that one. I like that one very much. Well done. Very well done. I think there's a chance, Ryan, we talk about our subconscious. When one comes in with hair and is really, really well presented, maybe you think, well, there's probably somebody good behind this animal that's coaching that kid and things like that. But in theory, we're just going to place those animals on how that individual gets them stuck, not what the animal is necessarily, quality of the animal or the hair quality or any of those things.
Yeah. And again, very, very interesting question, but I don't know if my answer was the best, but that's all I can come up with.
I think it was great. Okay. Second question comes from Aaron. I love the podcast. Can you explain to me why kids showing market sheep shake the lamb's head while in the brace position?
Okay, so interesting question. What I refer to is rocking them back. And so, like, whether it's at the picture backdrop or in the ring or whatever, when they shake that lamb's head, it rocks them back and wakes them up and gets them back driving as hard as they can.
I think I think you're right. Now, we even do it in the goat ring, and my oldest daughter does it a lot. I think a lot of it is just to get that animal's attention, say, hey,
what part
I'm
of
in control.
waking
I want you to,
up?
Yes.
Did I know? I
Time
said
to
waking
wake
them up.
and show it.
Yes. That was the first thing I said, Dale.
And I'm not opposed to it at all. Does it bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me. No, not at all. But, like, I mean, I think that's the purpose of it, is like, because, I mean, if you keep that lamb or goat embraced the whole time, yeah, they're going to be flexing some. But when that judge comes your way, you want them to, like, go as hard as you can. So you've got to, like, jolt them just a little bit to, like, whoo, hello, it's time to, like, get there.
Exactly. And Aaron, I can take it a bit further. I'm not opposed to do that even in other times other than we're coming to handle them. And I think not only waking them up, but I think our goats are so crazy to begin with. It has a little bit to do even with, and sometimes we do need to wake them up with it, but just the fact that, hey, I'm in control. You need to conform, if that makes any sense. And that seems sometimes to help. So excellent question, Aaron. Third and final question. This one could get a little controversial. Just heads up, Ryan. I have been listening to your podcast and enjoy them. I have a question, and we've had a question kind of similar to this. When you were talking about crunchy lambs, and Ryan said he placed it third, why, when it is obvious that this has been done, is this animal not placed last in the class? Do that, and they will quit the stupid practice. All they do is give the livestock industry a bad name, and I feel the judges are in the strongest position to influence this. Thank you.
I'll tell you exactly why it was placed third. Because, again, while I am firmly convinced that one had something done to it that didn't need to be done to it, I also can't prove that. There was no drug test, there was no carcass, etc. So I'm not going to completely, because the animal had a lot of very positive things to it. And again, I'm not saying they're always third. I'm not saying they're not lower or whatever. It doesn't matter. The individual situation calls for that. But each case is different. But I am a person that, again, I don't know who did that to said animal. I am not going to embarrass a child by putting an animal that most people that will never put their hands on will think that that one should be up at the top of the class and then shoot it down in the class. And more importantly, in most lamb and goat shows, you only talk the top 5. So if you just throw it down at the end of the class, no one's going to know why that animal was there. So therefore, when I said I handled this one, I don't think it was as natural as it needs to be, I didn't like whatever I say, that gives that person who's on that sheet at least an idea. Hey, maybe if they didn't do it and they didn't know they did it, maybe they need to investigate some things.
And I think that's key that message comes across. And if you're only talking the top 5, that's the only way it's going to come across.
Well,
you
and
can't
again,
say something to that young child out there. That doesn't work.
No, and then again, even if you're not going to make an example. Oh, and by the way, that one in last is screwed with. I'm not ever going to hurt a child in a ring.
Agreed. You would hope that those in charge managing and the parents wouldn't put the child in that position to begin with, but it is not the child's issue. Now, maybe some of these older 17, 18, 19-year-olds, maybe.
And again, whoever wrote this, I think it's a fine question. When you get a mic and they ask you to judge, you can do it whichever way you want to. How about them
Agreed.
apples?
I'm gonna follow up on this one because I had a discussion with a
I don't like people telling me how to judge. I'm sorry.
Okay, we know that. I had a discussion with a person at Kansas City that I respect a great deal within the livestock industry about this exact topic, and it is unfortunate. He was very absolute that these things should be taken care of before they come in the ring. Well, good luck, because there's not many people that are knowledgeable enough in what's going on that's going to stand there.
Wait, what did you say? They're going to take care of it before the ring?
They would like these crunchy lambs or anything that's been artificially enhanced sorted out so they don't even come into the ring.
You can't prove it.
It's such a gray area. I'm not saying there aren't some that are dead obvious, but for the most part, those that are doing it very, very well, good luck. So he takes the opinion, if they come in the ring, we just have to sort them as such. And I'm not going to argue that, because it shouldn't be on the judge. Trust me, when I'm out there sorting lambs or goats, I'm probably as conscious or more so than I should be of these things, and try to avoid landing on one. But it takes away from your ability to simply sort livestock. And it's hard. It makes me angry, Ryan. I get in a very bad mood when I'm
well aware it makes you angry.
Yes. So when those lambs, and I'm not trying to pick on lambs because it happens in the goat arena, especially more so the past couple of years, when one after another come in, it just starts to wear on me, and it takes away from my ability to interact and befriend, all those things. And I need to get better about that, because it's probably not changing immediately. With that said, I don't think the judge can do that. However, I am conforming, and Ryan, you're already doing it just by nature of what kind of animals you like. My comment to this individual was, maybe we should decide, because I think in the lamb and the goat ring that Ryan and I are going to definitely agree, we have some on the extreme end in terms of muscle that have way more muscle than they actually even need. A large percentage of the good ones have more than enough muscle. So let's go to a certain point where this is plenty of muscle. And if you have significantly more than that, it doesn't become an advantage. It's not a disadvantage, but not an advantage. So get to enough muscle in that lamb or that goat, and from there sort on look, balance, skeletal integrity. All of those things can become more of a priority once they have enough muscle. It's an easy concept for me, but sometimes I live in this little bubble, and I think everybody should think the same way. But if we were to do this and not use those wild extreme ones, that would discourage those that are artificially manufacturing muscle to not do it as much, because it's not going to put them over the top just because they have that much more crazy wild mass than another one. And muscle is, in my mind, I like thick, I like heavy muscled livestock, no question. Do I need to go to the wild side in terms of where the muscle is? I do not. So there is a groundswell, which is interesting, Ryan, in the state of Indiana right now. The state of Indiana has been addressing these things, as every state has. Every show has issues. But for some reason, those in the state of Indiana right now are speaking up, and there is artificial building, the crooked side of things in the lamb and goat arena as anyone. And they're speaking up, and it shocks me because I just didn't think there'd be that many people do this. And I hope this spreads into other states, because I think Indiana State Fair is in line for some true change, because they see how many people are wanting to play by the rules and do this as a truly natural, I guess, project for their kids. They don't want to be involved in something that's this far out of bounds, teaching kids the wrong thing, period. And they're speaking up, and it's going extremely, extremely well. So I commend those there in Indiana. I'm here to support you however I can to try to make change. And I think that Matt Clays is very capable, if allowed, from any show in the country willing to help, putting in a enforceable drug testing protocol and carcass evaluation protocol. I'm not saying it's going to catch everything, but at least it's not going to throw those kids out that do something that is innocent, and it's going to stop 90% of those blatant problems that we're dealing with. So commend Indiana. They get my shout out for standing up and trying to make change and go in the right direction. Did you like that rant, Ryan?
Oh, I always enjoy your rants, Dale.
And we're gonna conclude with that one. But I want to remind everyone, shortly after this episode drops, maybe even before, so there is going to be the Beyond the Ring Junior Livestock Association episode that is all about the association and the questions that Ryan and I are getting, and hopefully help answer some of those. So please be looking for that as a bonus episode. Until then, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?